name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and I'm going to review WWE Raw for 7/30/2018. And I'll be honest, I have pretty much given up on WWE, especially when it comes to Raw. SmackDown's a little bit better. Sometimes you can get excited about it. But I've realized I used to be a fan, and now I have fan moments, but I'm not really a fan of the product anymore. It's gone incredibly far downhill. I do the reviews because there are people who like to see them. But, you know, I think as a whole, the real genuine fans from the 80s, 90s, and even really the beginning of the 2000s are just not fans anymore because they've seen what the product has become. And I think I'm actually going to post a video just talking about how, you know, making money has killed WWE. And I'll get into that in another post, I think. But for Raw, you start out with Lesnar, you see he's here, okay, it was just a quick shot, nothing there. Roman Reigns cuts an in-ring promo, Paul Heyman cuts in, and, you know, he's talking up Brock Lesnar. And I'm sorry, but Roman Reigns just, he does not connect with me, and I know he doesn't connect with a lot of people, especially with his promo work. He's not terrible in the ring. I think he can cut a good match, but he cannot cut a good promo. So I was not entirely thrilled with the opening, and then you get the first match, which I really wasn't thrilled with, Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. I'm not a fan of Corbin in the ring, and Finn Balor is somebody I'm becoming less and less a fan of, honestly. I was pretty excited about when he had the demon gimmick, when he was like really out there and going at it. He doesn't use the demon gimmick anymore, and it's the same old shit in the ring. So, I mean, Finn Balor, for me, really has gone downhill. I didn't care about the match. It was nothing grandiose. Baron Corbin picks up the win. They've been building Baron Corbin on and off since he came in, and I don't understand why. As far as I'm concerned, the guy sucks. He's terrible in the ring. He's terrible on the mic. Backstage, you get a Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman's bit, and that was actually before the Finn Balor, Baron Corbin match. And Brock Lesnar doesn't seem to want to go out to the ring. You get another backstage Paul Heyman Kurt Angle bit where Kurt Angle says to Paul, if Brock Lesnar doesn't show up in the ring, then Paul Heyman his contract is terminated. Backstage, you get this really weird Alicia Fox, Alexa Bliss bit. I don't know where Mickie James is. Apparently she got hurt. Alexa Bliss is now enlisting Alicia Fox, and she's new and didn't have a spot to be filled. And then she does her crazy chick promo that she usually does, Alicia Fox. Just kind of weird though, honestly. And then you get a match with Natalya versus Alicia Fox. You have Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss respectively in the corners. And there's a lot of confusion outside the ring because, you know, Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss are getting involved. It allows Alicia Fox to pick up the win, and then Rousey goes in afterwards, hip tosses Alexa Bliss, puts her in an armbar. Fox kicks her from behind, and then Rousey does the same thing, hip toss. And then, actually, no, I take that back. She puts her in that little Samoan drop type thing. And that was that segment. Backstage, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman bit. After that, they keep building up. Brock Lesnar is just not going to do what anybody says. He's going to do what Brock Lesnar wants to do. Doesn't care about the WWE. We all know it's a build. We see right through this shit. I think this build in particular was stupid. I really do. We all know he's going back to fight Cormier. We all know that he's probably going to drop the title at SummerSlam. It's honestly a stupid way of building it. I really think, because we see right through this shit as fans nowadays. And you have to work to the audience that watches, man. And I think that's one of the problems. It is a problem that people have kind of killed, you know, the suspension of disbelief. Wrestlers have kind of enlightened the fact that it's a work. And we all knew it was, but it does kind of destroy the product nowadays. It's unfortunate that, you know, people have become so smart that these type of programs don't work anymore, but WWE can't really play to that anymore, and that's part of the problem. Is there are times when they've had great writing and they've been able to get around that, but a lot of times they just don't even try, and it fails. So Brock Lesnar, like I said, he's acting like he doesn't care about anything. There was a bit where Paul Heyman was trying to show him something, and Brock Lesnar takes Paul Heyman's phone and just chucks it and sits back down on the couch. Then you get backstage, Ronda Rousey, Natalya, Kurt Angle bit. Kurt Angle says Ronda Rousey is going to be in her first match on Raw next week with Alicia Fox. And then you get... They've had Bobby Lashley in some of the weirdest, most cringe-worthy segments, period. And I really don't believe it's Bobby Lashley's fault. I think it's what he is given. I mean, the whole Sami Zayn gimmick was terrible. And then, coming into Roman Reigns, that wasn't good. And this is starting out even worse. Elias in the ring. He gets interrupted by Bobby Lashley because Elias is talking a little mess about him. They start singing. Elias hits Bobby from behind. Bobby turns it around, chases Elias out of the ring. Horrible segment. Just bad. Then you get Baron Corbin and Kevin Owens backstage. Real quick bit where Kevin Owens is trying to say that Kurt Angle is trying to get Brock Lesnar out in the ring so Braun Strowman can cash in, and that's going against him. And it really goes nowhere. Then you get Braun Strowman versus Jinder Mahal. The match doesn't even start before Kevin Owens comes down, grabs the briefcase. Braun Strowman goes chasing him, gets counted out. Stupid segment. They're making Braun Strowman to be a complete moron. Like, honestly. And I get he's the big guy, but Jesus. And then Mojo Rawley, he's backstage, he's talking to a bunch of the jobbers, just talking about all the shit he's done lately. And Bobby Roode interrupts him and says, you got a problem with me? Mojo's like, what if I do? And then they start scrapping. They hit the floor, they're throwing punches. And that was the segment. Apollo Crews with Titus O'Neil takes on Akam with Razor. Basically a Titus Worldwide versus Authors of Pain match. And Apollo Crews was pretty good in this match. He was pretty impressive, honestly, in some spots. And he rolls away with the win, which I thought was interesting. They've been building up Authors of Pain, but, they've got Apollo Crews taking one, so I like that. He's got a lot of potential, man. He's just got to put it all together. Then you get Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre with Dolph Ziggler. Drew McIntyre beat him a week or two ago, and this was a pretty good match. It was a nice back and forth. A couple of good spots on it. But Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp. Dolph Ziggler jumps in the ring before he can get the pin. They start whooping on Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins turns it around on both of them. And honestly, I one of the things I would love to see WWE do is get a big guy who has a look and really give him a great build before they, do anything with him. And they haven't done that in a long time. And this is another situation where they've got McIntyre, who's like 6'5", he's like 250, whatever the hell he is. I mean, he's a big, solid dude. And he just doesn't, he doesn't get the push that I think he needs. So Seth Rollins, hits a curb stomp, makes him look weak. Dolph Ziggler comes in, they jump him. Seth Rollins turns it around on both of them, makes him look weak again. I think it's bad booking. Kurt Angle, Roman Reigns are backstage after that, and Kurt Angle says Roman Reigns has to leave the arena because he wants Brock Lesnar to go out to the ring, and he doesn't want anything to stop that. So Roman Reigns is being carried away, and he hits Baron Corbin on the way out, and that was that segment. Charlie then does an in-ring interview with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. Wyatt and Hardy interrupt. Honestly, Dallas and Axel, they're still really cheesy, to be very honest. And I've said it every time that I've talked about them. I don't see them as champions in the company. The fact that they are really says something about the state of the company. I mean, lately you've had the likes of Nia Jax, Carmella, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel as champion. These are all champions. I don't see it. I just don't get it. Like, these guys wouldn't even be jobbers back 10 years ago. I just don't understand what's happened. So, not the greatest segment there. The match that follows is the Revival versus Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Decent match for what it was, nothing spectacular. The Revival win, though, and that I did like. The Revival, it's a new team, fresh faces for, maybe a championship spot. So that's cool. I didn't mind that. And backstage, Renee interviews Seth Rollins. He's talking about surviving both Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. And then both Dolph and Drew come in and attack Seth Rollins during the interview. Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan take on Bayley and Sasha Banks after that. Again, a decent match for what it was, but nothing spectacular. Bayley and Sasha pick up the win. And all this back and forth with Bayley and Sasha Banks, I'm hoping that there's another blowout and that they're facing each other at Evolution or SummerSlam or something like that. Because otherwise, you've literally spent months and months of a build-up to nothing. And this is one of the problems with WWE and their product right now, is there is zero consistency. There's no consistency in the character build-up. There's no consistency in their storylines. There's not even any consistency in the rules and the matches. So how can you have any suspension of disbelief if they're not even keeping track of what they're doing? I mean, it's really bad lately. It really has been. So, like I said, Bayley and Sasha, they win the match. They're great friends. Who knows? The announcers are all saying they don't buy it yet. And maybe that's going to lead to something. But honestly, so far, it's just a waste of a build. And at this point, I don't know that anybody would care anyway, because it's been so back and forth for so long. We're just like, you know what? Fuck it. We don't care. Which is a sad state of affairs, because they tore the house down in NXT. Like, it was an amazing match. So, the back and forth, I think, has really ruined any push for any type of match build-up for these guys. Then you get backstage, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman segment, where Paul Heyman finally talks to Brock and he says, look, I'm going to level with you. Kurt Angle said if you don't go out to the ring, I lose my contract. Brock Lesnar then grabs Paul Heyman and says, look, we're not friends. You work for me, yada, yada, yada. So he tells Paul Heyman to go to the ring and do what he does. So they close the show. Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin are in the ring. They're about to hand out the ultimatum. Paul Heyman comes down. He does his little weasel plea, and then Paul Heyman basically, at that point is getting fired. Kurt Angle basically says your contract is terminated, and then Brock Lesnar comes down, hits the F5 on Kurt Angle, does a stare down with Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin just walks out of the ring. And that was where they left the show. And I did like the close because you left on a big note. Brock Lesnar's been there the whole show. And, he leaves with an emphatic statement, basically that I don't care about anybody. And, again, I think with the way they're doing it, though, going into, we know he's going to UFC. We don't know what his contract is. He's probably losing the belt. It's a bit overdone because most people are going to know that it's a work. And so that doesn't work. There were still plenty of people cheering for Brock Lesnar. You could still hear people chanting Suplex City. I mean, it's just... I'm sure there are better routes to go than this one because it doesn't sell well. So that's my take on that specific thing. I think they could do something a little bit different, like Brock, going for the 2 company belts, which would be amazing, actually. But it doesn't seem like they're focusing on that. So, overall, I mean, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre was a good match. I'm not going to bitch too much because I am a huge fan of Seth Rollins about the end there. Honestly, other than that, I don't know that there was anything that really stood out to me as something that was very relevant or incredibly entertaining. So I'll give it a 1 out of 10, and I think that's pushing it. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my review. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. If you agree, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Again, my name is Kevin Jackwitz, Kaged Nation out.